Officially, good morning. Welcome to the Options Income Launchpad Wednesday Market Midpoint. My name is Scott, and I will be your host. It's good to see everybody. As always, education and illustrative purposes only. Nothing is intended as a recommendation to buy or sell, because we're not brokers or advisors. Decisions should always be made at your own risk. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, let's do what we usually do. What do we look at? Futures. We look at the news. We take a peek at our posture. How's it holding up? What are the trades we're in? What are the trades we're thinking about? Right? So you can see today's opening analysis, revisit posture, mindset for open trades, review the opportunity list. What are the setups? How is your trading plan? I've been having people check in with some really good numbers. They're like, my plan's up to a 7.5. My record keeping's at a 9. Yeah, that's what successful traders do. What failing traders don't want to. We do the hard stuff. We do the meaningful stuff. All right. And we're on record keeping, so we know how important that is. Okay. Went through the whole agenda, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Is this fresh? Are all of these fresh? Okay. I mean, we've still seen some pretty good trades come and go. I think now tell me if I'm wrong, but we've all probably pared our trade down a little bit. Like a minor bit. Still a bullish market, I think, is the way we should be seeing it. Debasement trade as gold soars above 4,000, seeking hedges to guard against a devaluation of fiat currencies. Okay. Yeah, we definitely have seen gold soar. Yes, being cautious. Yes, right. That's exactly, Craig. I think the right starting point is the unpredictability, i.e., uncertainty, which we all know how the market feels about uncertainty. It's not a fan. The longer it goes, the more we're missing data. I think the worse it's going to be. Kevin, good morning in Toronto. Good to see you. Yeah, right. El Jago, another great point. It inched up the wedges. It didn't break. I think we're all like, it didn't break, but it is like right there. Like you said, it's like creeping. It's creeping up the wedge. And you're like, is it? You can see, and then you almost kind of feel the tension, the VIX, as that barometer of fear, tension. It's certainly something we're sensitive to. That's a great observation. What else? Futures edge up with Fed minutes on deck. I think that they're looking to see is their language indicative of that next level dovish or accommodative Fed where they're committed almost, where they're like, yeah, we're likely, I don't know. We'll see what the minutes do when they come out. Do we see that stance for the VIX? Is there a difference between 14 to 16, or is it about the movement? It's kind of both, right? Right now, 14 to 16 is our lows. That's like, we haven't really gotten to some of this. Well, we'll go look at that chart. Yes. Hovering low and staying low is a pretty good condition. That means the institutions are stable, borderline confident, right? The institutions don't tend to work against themselves. So if we see a big surge in the hedge activity, meaning a spike on the VIX, there's a good chance institutions are piling in to some hedge, right? Some hedges. And if they're hedging, they're not also buying stock, right? When they start to hedge, they start to realign portfolios, not just keep buying blindly into it. And so there's some correlative patterns in there that we think, okay, what does that mean for us? And so when we see the VIX break above 18 right now, we'd be like, whoa, something's going on here. And we would all trade quite differently. So it's kind of about both. Yeah. Good morning, Vladimir. Good to see you. What is a relationship between VIX and Delta? Actually, if you're in options on the actual VIX, then, it would be the delta of those options are dependent on how the VIX moves. But other than that, the VIX is a volatility measure, so it's going to have an impact on the vega of your options. Delta is based on price movement, so a little bit non-correlative, actually. Guys are like asking amazing, what a high-level discussion. Loving it. Okay, which is interesting. There's just not a lot of news, right? You can see this is a market that's kind of just looking around for something to be interesting, as the government shutdown is going to continue to have a negative impact. We do have the Fed minutes. So you'll see Fed minutes is mentioned here. Fed minutes is mentioned here. We know that that's something the market's built something into. The rest of this is just sort of known, and there's not really a lot in that. From a calendar standpoint, we will get the minutes, but the rest of this, the jobless claims, I believe, is not going to be released as long as there's a shutdown, and it's Wednesday. Yeah, weird charts for sure. Okay, but what else do we know? A couple minutes before the market opens, we do know that the futures are okay. Yeah, S&P's up 0.16, Dow's up 0.28, NASDAQ 0.13, and there's you can see small caps looking for that rate cut. As long as the rate cut benefits them the most, and you can see that maybe that's another indication of the market building in some expectations of hopeful verbiage in those minutes, right? Almost committing. We're at 94. You can see it's kind of been there for quite a while. 99, 95, 94.6. It's down a little bit, but it's mostly there. We have 1 week. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, right? Someone pointed out to me the last time, the last administration when they had a shutdown, it was a month. Was that someone here who said that? Can't remember. I have a lot of conversations. I'm a very important person. I don't. Okay. Let's look at December. December 81%. So a pretty big, and they're looking for it today too. Only 17 think we're going to stick with one rate cut. Nobody thinks that basically that we're not getting any more. Why the alert on SoFi? Oh, yeah. Really, we'd been talking about that one kind of for a while on a day-to-day basis, right? Looking for like, okay. And each day we were like, do we think this is still a pullback, or do we think this has turned into a sell-off, which is what you might say for multiple down days, right? I hope you were there for some of the, like, because a lot of the times the alerts are under discussion for days before they actually become alerts. I kind of feel like that's one of the advantages is that helps connect it, maybe, is because we're talking about it and we're like, this is what I like here. This sector's in a good place, and this is a leader in the sector, and we're seeing good momentum on the chart because the buyers did this last time and the trend's strong, and here we're going to watch to see what do the sellers do, how far do they push it, at what point does it trend, right? And it's pretty, detailed look at what's going on and what we think that means, and how does that translate to an opportunity to say, if the buyers do this, we think it's going to start the next move. And if it does that, the next move, if it replicates some of the previous moves, it'll give us this. There's our reward. If it fails and it breaks support, I'll get out. There's my stop. And usually we're looking for minimum 2 to 1. More likely 3 to 1. That is just like a classic bounce trade system. It's not breakouts. We don't look for a big smashing volume breaking through resistance. That's not that type of a trade. It's not a continuation trade, though we have had a couple of those, and I'm not adverse to them. I like continuation trades where it's like, hey, you know what? You might have missed that first bounce, but if you can catch it in the first couple of days, you'll orient yourself a little differently as to how you see where a stop would be, what makes the trade wrong. So that's more of a continuation trade. So having said that, I hope vacation was good. Let's jump in now that the market's open. And you can see that what happened then, and there's a lot of times, and we have a few of them that we'll go through, where it's like when it first caught our eye right here, and then when it did those next couple of days, certainly I was a little more concerned. But I'm actually looking back to like, when was the last real clear cut support to resistance transition? Held the 50. So I gave this one the benefit of the doubt. And it's interesting because there's been a couple of these where I'm like, no, I don't see it. And then people in the group, they were like, I don't know, Scott, it's bouncing off the 50. And they took it, and it was a great trade. And I just was like, oh yeah, great trade. I didn't take it, because the other thing that I tend to look for is like, is this a consolidation? Now, if someone was like, that's a consolidation, then they might not take the trade until it goes up, finishes, comes back down, but it might not finish there. It might not finish to there. So it might go up to this point. It might go all the way back up. It might go even higher still, which is right. So for me, it's like, all right, if you're convinced that you caught the bounce, and therefore You can see we had a nice turn on our stochastics. We had a nice candle, bullish candle that overtook the previous day. And mostly it was the determination that that was a setup. If someone had looked at this and said that's a consolidation, that's not a setup for them anymore. And you'll see me do that frequently. So anyway, yesterday was a good day. Today, pausing a little possibly, right? So someone might say, hey, you know what? I caught a piece early. I'm going to lock some gains in, tighten my stop. If this thing can keep going, great. If not, I'm going to pull out. Because here's the thing. Knowing that the market is, especially if we start to see it, flexibility. Yes. Because if it does kind of come back down here, but it does this, well, that's our next trade anyway. So if you can pick up a little chunk here and then get in, and then you get the next move, which is oftentimes, right? It's like you think it's going to go, and then it just sort of pauses again, and then it goes. Stocks don't just behave the way we want. We've got to be flexible, right? And so, yeah, I think a few people locked again. I've locked a little in. I think some other people locked some in. Looks like it could go either way. We don't know. We definitely don't know 6 minutes into the market. That's one of the things we talk about. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. I want it to be like a pretty clear. And so, you know what? That's what you should expect. Is you should expect to be like, okay, yeah, we're looking for that shift, trying to catch that shift. If we do, we can get a nice little pop. Let's go look at, where is my watch list? What is going on around here? There it is. Market's kind of flat. Yesterday started higher, ended up selling off. Didn't have above average volume, didn't even have 0.5%. I believe it was like 0.37. So does it look like the market could be moving into you can see that we're overbought down here. It was a nice move up in this area. It's a higher high. It's not like we're like, what? The sellers are coming in now? Yeah, it might happen. Last time it was 3 days. So would we be shocked if we got 3 days here and it ended up pulling back a little bit? That's our last low. So anything in there, yeah, okay. Let's be open. It might go sideways for a couple of days and the government opens up and then it just takes off, right? So we don't want to just be like, oh, I can't. Be flexible. Be ready to adapt. Certainly the market appears to be, hitting some resistance for the 5th day now, right? Got there pretty good, but it did not get through, and it's just been sort of testing at these levels. So how do we trade that? Well, yeah, if we see the market hitting some resistance, we might be inclined to take some profits where we have them, tighten stops. We might be less inclined to new trades. Unless it's like an off-cycle trade, something that's not directly correlated to, the market, which usually you're about an 80% correlation. So certainly you can find things. Okay, let's go look at that VIX. I keep getting myself locked on my pen. Okay, here's the VIX. And now the VIX is down slightly, but where are we? I think that maybe I should even go from about right here. We'll zoom on in. I'm going to move this. Let's try I've got this big wedge that comes down through here, right? And then it's something like this coming up through here. Yeah. And this is what was mentioned about the VIX earlier. Really kind of pushing up against it right there, right? It's right up against the top. And what was interesting was, just due to the circumstances, that was my low. I sort of was able to just sort of ignore the noise of this little shakeup. And then it got up to this level and then turned. What I have not done, and which it now looks like I need to do, is recognize that this has indeed become a higher low. It hasn't become a higher high yet, but I think that my volatility score is a 1/4 point too high, based on this not being accounted for. Now, if all of a sudden this thing can break down from here, interestingly, if you look at this to this, that's the one on the right is a lower high, if you're going to be technical. So if all of a sudden this market, like I said, if the government opens back up, and this thing all of a sudden makes another break to the downside, I actually wouldn't even need it to break out of this wedge. I just needed to take out one, like this last day here, yesterday. If I take that out, take out the low, I'd be thinking, yeah, okay, that's now rolled over, lower high. Well, I think we could have expectations of popping down. But you can see, going back to the earlier question about the VIX between 14, 16, or like you can see, right now we even pop up to 18 or 19. Now, pre-pandemic, back in the old days, there was times where the VIX fluctuation was 12 to 15. It spiked to 18 maybe, and that's a real stable, real nice bullish market. 2017, that's what it looked like. 2019, that's what it looked like. Very bullish, just great tradable years. What do we see in the VIX? It's a lower. It's if it's a fear index, what does it mean when it's at low points? Fear is at lows in those circumstances. So, anyways, does that make sense? As far as what's going on here. So for me right now, yeah, it definitely feels like, number one, I've underassessed. So one of the things I'll be doing is I'll be bringing that back to a 1. That should have dropped, and that's my concern, is we are sort of pushing up against it. Overall, you can see as the VIX comes down and trends downward, this has been a great market to trade. Is coming out of that. Now, if it stays down, that's also a good market to trade. If it escalates, if it starts to break and push upwards, that's institutional fear mounting and expressing itself as institutions acquiring hedge, right? Insurance positions. And as they do that, they're right. What do they typically do? They start piling money. They shut off the flow, right? They're like, all right, we're going to stop buying things for a little. So those are the kind of things where it's like, well, we don't want to trade into that. Those are the anyway. We're certainly on the lookout for that. We're very sensitive to if this starts to break higher. Yeah, I like that everybody's watching that. I mean, that's exactly a good early indicator, right? To be thinking, ooh, we don't know what or why. That's not the point, because somebody smarter than us who's looking to be early in the hedge game. If you're an institution and you're late to the hedge game, you won't be a good institution for very long. If you're the one buying after the VIX is spiked and then you're selling when it's come back down, you're losing a lot of money on your hedges, right? And so there's definitely a big psychological element at play, even with the institutions as they're doing their hedging. Okay. So what does that lead us to? Well, let's go look at some actual positions. We saw SoFi made an early move. Whenever I get a good early piece, I'll definitely be like, hey, I'm going to take a little off just to capitalize on that quick win, and then give it a little bit more room to play. What else do we have going on? Coinbase, same kind of a thing. I mean, up in this area, you could have gotten 80 to 90% of max, which is a lot of times what my first a bit. If you're still holding on, plenty of opportunity to take some, hold on to it. It's positive in time decay now at this point. So let's start at the top of our list. What's another one? GE. Sorry, GE. Yeah, GE trying to get back on track. There's enough here to be thinking, yeah, let's see. It's a spread trade. Can we get up a little bit higher into that where it does start to turn into a positive time decay scenario? Apple. It's a hard one to read. I mean, it's really almost turned into a basing pattern through here. Pretty tight. That's a pretty tight little, like, what do we think here? Like it's a spring getting pushed. If it gets some good news, it breaks this way. It could shoot that way. And if it gets some bad news and it breaks, right, then maybe it comes back down. That's a tough one. Bollinger Band squeeze. If you ever look at the Bollinger Bands on your charts, that's probably getting into a squeeze where it's tightening up. What do you think? Do you like Apple? Do you not like Apple? You're kind of like, what is it doing? Okay. Archer Daniels had a little breakout move, so that's one where it's like consolidation. Oh. Right? And it did this, and it took out this previous, and you're thinking, well, that's a little bit interesting. Now what? Well, if it pulls back down and then it finds some support, then I think, oh, that might be some defensive money coming into this thing. Right? Where we're expecting another wave to come in of a little bit more defensiveness, possibly. So, yeah, I'm watching that. It's not there yet. Amazon. Again, for me, you can see it was breaking down. It's still just sort of like, what have we seen the buyers do since it got to this high? That's our question. They got 2 little days here, which were followed by 8 days of selling. And 2 days up and then back down. And then 2 days up and then back down. And then 1 day up, and I guess technically maybe today. So we have not seen buyers. Okay. So then let's just kind of wait until we do. ANET, this one is insane. I don't think anyone's still in this one. If you were, this is just sort of a teaser almost. We're going. No, we're not. We're going. Oh, goodness. Goodness. APH, it's kind of that same thing as Apple, right? Almost. I'm just not quite sure if I'm like, do I like this? Do I not? The trend has been amazing. And if it all of a sudden we look back and this thing's at 150, we're like, oh yeah, no, I mean, it was a good trend. So I don't know. Keep my eye on that one. AVGO. Oh. So this was one where I was like, I'm not sure about this on this initial bounce, but on this hiccup, it kind of is starting to look a little more appealing to me now. Possibly. Interesting. Maybe. AXP, the financials just sort of were like, it's funny how it works like that sometimes. Because I was like, oof, these look like they're setting up. They're all pulled back. They're looking pretty good. And then they just are sputtering right before their earnings. You can see we're going to see a lot more of this. Earnings are here. And all of a sudden where we're thinking, hey, we maybe have one last chance. It comes down and then it just sputters. Has it broken yet? No, I would still say it's the problem is if you're like, you wait and then you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, there's only a day. There's not really a trade left there. You're just sort of right in front of those earnings. Bank of America, same thing. There's earnings. Here we are. Does it look like it's like, oh, it didn't look like that was going to, and then it just sort of didn't? That doesn't mean to me that the sellers took over. It just meant like where we thought the buyers would come, they just sort of like flinched. They balked. It's a balk. Has it broken support? Has it made a lower low? Do we see this? The problem, again, is we just don't have time. We didn't have time for the buyers to sort of like hesitate. If they come now, we just don't have a lot of time. Okay. Citigroup, same thing. Same hiccup. Same analysis. Same earnings dilemma. It's less and less time as it sits there and holds a little bit. Caterpillar made a nice initial move. You can see it's sort of trying to hold on in here. If you're in it, there's a reason. Wouldn't give it too much now from this point. If you're not in it, you're thinking to yourself, is this close to a flag and it's going to try to finish this move? Definitely some strength in Caterpillar right now. More so than the industrials group, as we've seen. It's a leader, but the rest of the group is a little less so. Cameco, Trian, CLS. That's looking kind of interesting, but you can see again it had quite the little sideways move. The overall trend's been pretty strong for sure. I think that's interesting. Maybe seeing some more strength there in that industrials group. Capital One, there's more of that financial hesitation. Coinbase up again today. Cisco trying late. It's another one of those that just sort of couldn't Never went wrong, just couldn't ever mount buyers. It just bled on time. It's frustrating. Delta, downward consolidation. DoorDash. It just sort of made a sneaky bullish move, didn't it? The Dow actually started strong, but has gone negative. It's really not much of a consolidation even at this point, but we'll see what today brings. What are we, 25 minutes in? Okay. DocuSign. It's not looking good down there. We'll see. EA biding its time, I think. We'll probably stop watching it as soon as it. I wonder how long before that deal is supposed to go through. Expedia, kind of a weird look. I think I'm going to throw this one off the list. With this weird move that it had and the fact that it's just kind of, I don't know. It doesn't look like a great one for trading right now. I'm kicking it off the list. It's gone. We should update the list soon. I'm going to update the list soon. That's on me when I say we. Okay. Why am I not getting to Ford? There's Ford. Ford had a nice move up, pulled back. I don't know. I'm a maybe there. It was a pretty abrupt reversal. Someone who was in this trade could have given a lot of that back very quickly on that day if they weren't careful. It's crazy. Futu, sideways. I think I'm going to throw that one off soon too. Fiber. Same. No options there. Kind of weird. GE, holding up. Gold just keeps on smashing higher. I'm feeling a little irrational exuberance from this right now. Irrational exuberance. Okay. Sorry. Quick little peek at a trade here and there. Google. Okay, so I said, I've gone back and forth on this one. I was like, is this it? I don't think that's... Now I'm looking for the hiccup. Maybe in this area. Turn my line up a little bit, but I still think Google's strong. It's just getting a little caught in the hiccup here. As long as we keep that higher low, I think we'll be okay. Goldman, same financials hesitation. Hood. Hood, okay. So Hood's a little off cycle. If we get a pullback there, maybe a trade sets up in Robinhood. Howmet. No. IBM. What a freight train that turned into. Intel also still pretty strong. Just keeps on kind of flagging and popping, flagging and popping. IWM a little bit. It's up today, 0.3, but seems to be in just a little tight consolidative pattern. Levi's. I like Levi's. It's got earnings, so we'll see what happens as it comes out of earnings. But well, maybe that's a maybe. Momentum could be setting up. A lot of volatility all of a sudden in this thing. Las Vegas Sands, no. Meta, no. Morgan, part of that whole financials, just got a little stage fright, it seems. Microsoft, Micron, still looking for a little more pullback on that. Netflix. Oh, man, that Northrop Grumman just caught fire and moved. I think Nvidia is interesting right here. Give me your thoughts on Nvidia. We had this move here, nice little piece, flag. So we went from about 174, 17 points, puts us at about 202. 202. That gives me about 13 here. 5 or less if possible. So where's 184? Yeah, I mean, if I go underneath today, 184 is today's low. Yeah, there's a little bit. If you think it's just going to catch a little pop like that, a little quick hit, that might be something to explore. PGY. Still consolidating down. Palantir, a little bit stuck sideways. Here's the cues. I mean, overall, technology is holding up. Roblox, kind of still fighting that gap. Tried to move in there a little bit and immediately pulled back under the 50. Reddit, same kind of a thing. Just once it gets under that 50, just gets stuck underneath there. Rocket Lab. Woo, goodness. Did anybody hold on to that one? That was a mover. Silver still pushing highs. SoFi, yeah, just kind of sitting at that new level for a minute. We'll see what that does. The SPY looks okay today, up 0.3 right now. Tesla. TSM. I was waiting to see if we had a pullback there. Uber. I know a few people are trading Uber. They're just kind of sitting in this level, right? Sitting between 96 and 100 for the last few weeks. Interesting. Upwork. So, we talked about SoFi. This one to me is a bigger and longer downward push. So it is still sitting above the 50. We do still have a cross type thing developing. But I'm actually little more inclined to be like, you know what? This thing was so long. I'm thinking it's going to have to do one of these. Whoops, I lost my line. That's the trade for me. Um, big, right? Big. Visa. Okay. So Visa has, in my opinion, had a breakout. It's the first time where we're like, oh, hey, what's going on here, Visa? If it pulls back and gives one of these, I'd say, yeah, let's give it a look. Here's the VIX. VIX is actually down a little bit today. Holding up. I think definitely going to see a reaction to the minutes, but as of right now, holding up. Walmart just sort of stuck in this little range. The looked like it was going to be maybe a cup and then a handle type situation. Never broke the 50. It's a good bounce. It's just sort of stuck in this little wedge type formation, like a lot of things are. Okay, XLB materials, no, not really anything coming in there. Communication services holding up. This is where I still think there's opportunity in there. Google, come on, Google. XLE. There was a little pop in energy for a minute. We'll see if it holds. Financials, really kind of flat. Just when it looked like they were going to show a little bit extra momentum, they just got a little nervous and they couldn't get through. Couldn't make the turn. They weren't ready for the big time. Industrials. A little bit of an effort there, led by Caterpillar. So maybe we'll see something on our sector rotation that's interesting this weekend. Sector rotation's been the shakiest, right? So as far as market posture goes, I'm definitely going to lose. Well, maybe that's not, I shouldn't say definitely. If the market turns around, it could offset that. But as of right now, it's going to lose a quarter point for not correctly assessing a high or low on the VIX. The last time I looked at it, we were at a 0.5 for our sector rotation. I was leaning towards dropping that. Everything else is probably pretty stable. The small caps are still pushing higher, so I don't think that's going to shift. There's nothing in the trends. So if anything, there does seem to be, kind of a expected pause. My market posture might pull back just a little bit, but nothing overly concerning as of right now. Technology, you can see here, very strong still, great trend, still a leading sector, very much able to carry the market. And then you look at the staples. This is a defensive place. We don't see any defensiveness coming in here. We're like, yeah, that looks down like it would be for a growth market. We do see a surge here in utilities. There's different ways that we're explaining that. Not necessarily defensive, though we can't just dismiss it as not being defensive. Right? We have to have a consideration that, yes, there's a lot more electricity in AI and a crypto and AI world. And certainly this had a breakout. Let's look at healthcare. Healthcare just got a breakout as well. So we're kind of waiting to see, does this pull back? Does it turn into something that's more of a defensive trend? There's a couple of things here that sector rotation could have an interesting look this week. And now look at consumer discretionary. Consumer discretionary definitely has topped out. Hasn't broken though yet. I mean, it's still sitting on top. It did something like that back here. And then just sort of turned and moved again. So I'm making no assumptions. We'll let the analytics tell the story. But as far as trading goes, yeah, I think a little midweek caution here. Manage what you're in. Market seems like it could be in a little bit of a hit resistance and pull back. But look, if we get good news here from the government, we should be ready with some trades that we might put on. They may be more of a continuation style trade, but yeah. All right. Well, questions, comments, concerns? Anything we should have addressed that we didn't? Here's the two question series. Question number 1. How are you feeling with your trading? Question number 1. How are you feeling? Question number 2. Is that how you wanted to feel? Yes, that's the follow-up. So what are we looking to flesh out? If you're feeling apprehensive or nervous or frustrated, impatient, because if those are your answers, and then you're like, is that how you wanted to feel? I think you'd be like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to feel any of those things. What do I want to feel? I want to feel ready. I want to feel in control. I want to feel prepared, right? Am I seeing that there's uncertainty in the market? Certainly. So if there's uncertainty in the market, well, it's hard to trade certainly in an uncertain market. So we just sort of dial back a little bit. Cautiously optimistic. Good. That's a good one. I agree with that. Yeah, the institutions are still hanging in there for the time being. So great. Let's see if it continues to go that way. If we see escalation, we adapt quickly. That's the plan. Adapt quickly. Uncertain. Yeah. Stoic. Learning from mistakes. Poised to trade. Love it. Oh, these are good ones. I'm good with all of this. Excellent. Yeah, good stuff. Okay. Well, what's next? Always feel free to pop in and throw a comment out in Circle. Continue the conversation. You never know who will respond. Glenn will often pop on and respond. I'll respond. Other members will definitely respond. So if you ever want to just kind of, throw a ping and see what happens, go post in the channel somewhere. Waiting my time to be brilliant. I like it. It's good to see everybody. Glenn will be here tomorrow in the morning. Then we'll have the Thursday Q&As, standard times, 7:30 p.m. for Glenn, 8:30 p.m. for me. And then we'll wrap up the week the same way. Glenn in the morning, me in the afternoon. So, yeah, let's do this. I think, fingers crossed that we see some sort of solution in the government, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you guys. I'll see you tomorrow evening, as always. Happy trading.